Hey, welcome back to Block Roots. I am Josh. If you're new to the channel, on behalf of Canner and Clark, the co-founder here, just want to say thanks, welcome. And as far as notifications, if you'd like to subscribe, please click the red button below. And just know that if you leave a comment or engage each and every week, we give away $100 of Bitcoin. And so to one person who actually engages with our video. So regardless if you agree or disagree, we really don't care. Just leave a comment below and share a little bit more about your thoughts. Now, over the past few days, really, for me, it's been a while. It's been a busy weekend. I know I haven't seen you guys in a few days. So thanks again for tuning in. Hopefully it can be a good video today. Hopefully you're healthy and safe in quarantine wherever you're at in the world. So much is going on in the world, but as far as Bitcoin goes, if you look at the chart here, you can see that relatively it's been sideways, except for a few scam wicks here and there, especially over the weekend. But we can take a closer look at that. We can also take a closer look at the weekly close, as well as a few key levels to look at, and touch base on fundamentals again, talk about some of our thoughts as far as that goes, what we think as far as potential price action. And we also want to warn you about something going on right now that's pretty big as far as the Bitcoin and crypto trading community. We'll talk about that, what one exchange is doing that we want you to be aware of, to watch out for. Now, as far as quality exchanges, we've got the FIMX chart here. And again, I've talked about this a few times. You can go to fimx.trade, and then if you haven't seen, they've got Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Link, Tezos, LTC, and gold. Yes, real gold, just like the shiny stuff that you find supposedly in the vault locked away in Fort Knox to back the US dollar, which we know that's not true. But yes, gold, you can trade that as well on FIMX. And so 300,000 transactions per second. Some of the best customer support that you'll find, as well as more added features being added. Now, it's somewhat funny because I'll go to Twitter and I'll go to different places, and what you're seeing is that more and more people are actually moving away from BitMEX. And, you wouldn't want to trade on BitMEX anyways for the fact that it's becoming more and more liquid. People are moving elsewhere. But many people, what you see, they're actually starting to go to Bybit. Now, again, Clark and I used to talk about Bybit, but we somewhat laughed because we were sharing Bybit like a year ago, back when nobody trusted it, back when people said that it was a scam exchange, back when nobody wanted to go there because it was new. But the same thing is happening when it comes to FIMX. And again, we recently changed to FIMX. They do partner with our channel. But we reached out to them because we wanted to work with them because we saw the potential as far as their product. So again, it's the same thing here where their tech is better. They're offering sub accounts where you can long and trade at the same time. A lot of good stuff with FIMX. And people just haven't moved to FIMX yet just because it's newer. So I'm telling you right now, here in a year from now, you're going to see a lot of people say, go to FIMX, try FIMX out. Go ahead and go to fimx.trade, check it out for yourself. You're going to see that it's a really quality exchange again, especially an exchange that you can trust, in that something that you don't want to be on when it comes to BitMEX, especially when the volatility starts to increase soon. We know that, and you want to be on a good platform trading Bitcoin, long and going short on a platform that is not only liquid with good volume, but also too that has high transactions per second. And again, we know that FIMX has 300,000 transactions per second, 3 times faster than Bybit, and a lot faster than any other exchange outside of that. So be sure that you guys check it out. Now, as far as that goes, a new feature that has been added here, and we're going to look at this as far as talking about Bitcoin, so I'm not just going to keep talking about FIMX here. One feature that was recently added that you can do is you can actually draw now on the charts when it comes to the FIMX platform. So if I want to draw a level, like say right here, okay, and a level that I've been watching somewhat is this area. So if I were to draw this level, I can go ahead and save it there. And knowing that instead of toggling back and forth between TradingView and FIMX, I can just stay on FIMX now, draw some lines, draw some charts, and actually keep those on there and trade accordingly for that. But we want to definitely look at this level as a key level. We know that Bitcoin is still above 6,600, as you can see on the chart right here. And this is a key area that we want to watch and make sure that if it does break this, very likely continues on down. And so a couple of levels that we're also watching. So talking about the market. Oh, and by the way, nothing is financial advice. I forgot to say that, but we always want to look or say that. But as we're looking here, we know that around 6,400s, and then down here too, around 6,200, and eventually right down here towards the bottom around, 5,800 or so. We can probably draw it right there. But these are key levels that we're also watching, right? Based on price levels. And so knowing that if price does break below this level, very likely that we're going to see 6,400. As far as an intraday trade, could potentially bounce right there, right? But then a lot of people like myself are looking on higher time frames for price to make its way back down, likely to 58 if it decides to break down here, okay? So we'll talk about that because a lot of people are talking about how Bitcoin is up near a resistance right now. It's up near a resistance. It's grinding slowly against that, and typically that's going to be bullish because the longer it stays right under a resistance level and it keeps tapping that area, typically it will break through the price and we'll continue to move on up. But what I want to show you is if you haven't looked at an inverted chart, this is something that you can check out. And a cool way that you can do this is go to TradingView, and before the ticker here, you can put 0, the minus sign, and then enter. And then what you're going to see is you're going to see an inverted chart. Okay, and so I've talked about this inverted chart. I showed this not too long ago on Twitter. So we'll go ahead and take a look at this. So this is the inverted chart, okay, of Bitcoin. If you don't know this chart, that's what it is. And what inverted charts do is it allows you to look at another vantage point to make sure that you're not biased. And so what I like to do is go ahead and put trend lines as well on these inverse charts. And what you're going to notice is that this area has held as support from May 2019. And then, of course, we know that price hit off there, was only over that only went over this, which actually on the inverse chart, it went below 6,700, for a day, and then came back down and wasn't able to break that until now when we had the capitulation, right? With everything with COVID-19, and it went down, and price has made its way back up to this major area, if you notice on this inverse chart. So right now, we've wicked through it, which on a high time frame, it tells me if price is unable to close on at least the daily through this level, it's very likely that this is the top, or on this inverted chart is the major support, and we're going to make our way back the other way, okay? And so as you can see, this is a way, if we were to then flip this back to the original chart, and we were to put that same area, okay, right, same place, you're going to notice that, again, on the daily time frames, price has been unable to close above that. And now, again, we had price yesterday unable to close. It was right below it. It wicked above it and then came back down. It's retested the same support area. Price is unable to break above that. And so if price cannot break above the 68.79 level, then it's very likely that we're going to continue on down. Now, if you zoom in, like on the 4-hour chart, you're going to notice that price is wicked above that, as we were just talking about on the daily chart, unable to break down. We saw that, again, price went up quite high, around 72 to 7,300s. Price did close above it once, right, or actually twice, here and here, but then broke down quite hard, back down to the support, and it's wicked above it. And these wicks have been really fast. They've been like these within the minute to 5 minute candles, wick up and wick back down very quickly, which goes to show that really all that's happening is that big players are grabbing that liquidity, right? And so what they're doing is they're stopping people out who are either short, all right? So they're pushing them back. They know people have stop losses up here. People are forced to sell with their stop loss. Then they quickly then move into position and then move price back down, and they can then short. Our people also start to get long up here, and so it traps people who are like, okay, price is about to head off. People jump in at the last minute, traps those people in, and they're unable to get out, and then price moves right back down. And as we know, that's the name of the game, right? So you have to be careful when it comes to shorting or longing Bitcoin or trading in general. You have to make sure that you have good stop losses in place. But with that said, these big players are going to take advantage of these pumps, quickly get in and get in position, because anytime you're looking to get in a good position when it comes to a trade, that position should not be available very long, okay? And so again, a lot of times I watch for these wicks up or down to kind of base, and I'll jump in a lot of times too with a quick stop loss, but you have to be quick when it comes to these moves. So again, just watch price action, watch the volume, and again, be very careful when it comes to this. Now, a lot of people right now also, if you were to zoom out a little bit, right, they like to draw patterns. And so you're seeing a lot of people draw, okay, well, this is a pattern here, it's staying in here, it's an ascending triangle, so it's bullish, or some people want to call it a wedge, whatever, right? I'll say this again, there are no professional traders and serious big players who use patterns as their main trading style. So if you see somebody who's using primarily patterns on Twitter to show their moves and what's going to happen to Bitcoin next, you can pretty much laugh at them, because that is not what professionals trade off of. Professionals, again, order flow, the order book, and horizontals. These guys aren't drawing patterns, head and shoulders, and triangles. Now, again, triangles, I draw triangles on occasion, primarily just to show people that price is compressing. It's more or less to show people. I'm not going to trade off that. Triangles can be used to show that compression and volatility is coming. Okay, the price kind of moves back and forth within a tight range. We know that volatility is coming. So what I have to say to this, I mean, these trend lines are okay, cool, whatever. I'm not going to base anything off that, just because really, in the end, most people are going to trade off these high time frame supports, market structure, and again, a little bit more detail when it comes to order flow. But the beauty of this is that horizontals, you can see actually, again, where price has been. We talked about the wicks up and the wicks down. Really, we're just moving sideways. If I go back to the FIMX chart, right, you're going to see the same thing. If I were to take a triangle, right, and basically just draw it, we're doing the same thing right here. So very likely we're going to get some volatility, probably closer around the daily and weekly close or weekly open. Okay, and so price does break down. Again, the key areas that we're looking for are around 6400s, 6200s, and 5800. Primarily, again, 5800, as we look at these areas, really there's not a lot of areas as far as market structure really that you're looking for as main support and resistance areas. You've got around 6900 and you've got around 5800s. I mean, that's primarily it. And then, too, you can go down here in the low 5,000s as well, too. But as far as that goes, this is really the range that we're watching, okay? I'm going to be cautious because, again, it's wicked up many times now, and I'm not going to fall for another trap as far as that goes. But do expect price to balance and stop along the way in between these two areas. Now, as far as fundamentals goes, again, with fundamental news, why I primarily would still lean bearish, not only because price can't break above a key level that we looked on both inverse and regular charts, but also if you've yet to see the actual unemployment numbers of 10 million, you should see this, because again, fundamentally, we do think that there's a lot going on that is bearish as far as the economy. And so one of those things, if you look right here, this is the a GIF of the unemployment over the past 50 years or so. And so what you're going to notice is that it's from the highest we've seen ever before this was like 700,000 in one area to be claimed. And this right here is what it looks like when you have 6 million people claim unemployment at one time. And notice how that just totally trumps the entire history as far as unemployment claims. Not even close. It's like 7 to 8 times more than anything we've ever seen. So that in itself should tell you that, okay, the economy's not looking good. Not to mention also even in my metro and many people's metros across the United States, they've actually closed down pools, beaches, they've closed down amusement parks, they've closed down food stands, they've closed down a lot of these things for the entire summer. They're already announcing it now, it's in April. And so our summer technically starts at the end of May, early June, and it ends usually around September. And they're already saying, look, for the next 5 months, these things aren't going to be open. And these are a lot of jobs for people when it comes to the summertime. So again, expect if the food and restaurant industry continues to hurt like it does, you're going to expect even these people who are still providing takeout to lay off people. As far as restaurants goes, very likely. And you're also going to see a lot of other businesses too start to hurt as well. So I expect to see more and more numbers. And in the end, potential outcomes can be 20 to 30% of the economy here in the United States as far as employees being laid off. And so that's really bad for the economy. And I don't really see how the markets are just going to just turn around right now and just push forward and move up. I think as far as that goes, any move up is just a potential place to short and just to move back down. So at this time being, fundamentally, it's really hard to get bullish on every market, and that's including Bitcoin, okay? And by the way, I know I asked on a poll today for people who actually trade stocks and, outside of crypto, and I think 60% of people are crypto only. So again, we want to keep this primarily to Bitcoin and crypto, but you have to talk about the stock market as well, too, for the fact that it's a big influence, again, with a somewhat moderate correlation on Bitcoin. Again, if the markets start to fall in the stocks, then Bitcoin's going to fall. It's not that I'm bearish on Bitcoin long term, but the S&P 500, this is the weekly chart, it went up, and it over the past week, it hit off the 200 weekly average, moving average, and it's rejected off that and has yet moved back down. So again, with that, kind of hit off there twice, 2 weeks in a row. I don't really foresee anything to be bullish on the short term as far as that goes. Now, if price were to break up here and close above this on the weekly, that would be another story. But again, if price is even near this and doesn't break above it, this is the S&P 500 in the stock market again, then I don't think that there's anything bullish about that. So we do have price rejecting off a major moving average that, again, tends to signal people selling off and is typically bearish for the most part, okay? And so especially after it rejects off of it, not just breaking below, but rejecting off of it again, that goes to show you what sellers and traders think right now as far as traditional markets, okay? Now, speaking of markets, there's a major exchange right now that is offering options, which is another type of derivative when it comes to Bitcoin. You don't really see a lot of options out there besides Deribit, okay? And, the problem with options right now is what even Arthur Hayes even said is typically it's not as liquid, and you really have to be a very smart person to trade options. I don't even trade options, and I know most people don't trade options as well. But Binance has actually came out with options, and what most people don't know is this is basically like binary options, because basically what you're doing is you're counter trading against the broker, you're counter trading against Binance when it comes to these, quote, binary options, okay? And so, like even this gentleman says, binary options is some really crazy snake oil. Traders can only buy calls and puts. Expiration dates range from 10 minutes to a day. So Binance is basically counter trades you, or they're going to counter trade you, and collect the sweet premium while noobs get wrecked on the Theta Decay. Nice. And so as you can see in here, that only on Binance options, traders can only be a buyer rather than a seller, as Binance is the only issuer. Therefore, there's no order book on Binance options. Now, I also retweeted Cantor Clark as well, and he said the same thing. A lot of people were talking about this. Capital LOL, CZ Binance for listing what is essentially binary options. I feel bad for any sucker that thinks they are being offered a useful product. Imagine thinking Binance won't pin prices as expires approach to ensure they are always collecting a premium. And he goes on and talks more about this if you want to look at here. But in the end, really, you're just trying to trade against the exchange, and it's not a great, and it's not really a great product, for the most part. And so again, I don't really understand why a lot of people still use Binance. They have done a lot of shady stuff in the past. They continue to do shady stuff. Yes, I know people love CZ for who he is, and I don't know him personally, so I can't judge the guy, but all I can tell you is they've had a lot of shady things go on when it comes over the. I've been here for years and I've seen it from the very beginning. And there's a lot of times I've questioned, specifically on their derivatives platforms. If you're margin trading on Binance, I have seen so much stuff to where it seems like they take advantage of people. Okay, and so again, I don't care where you go. If you want to use Bybit, okay, that's fine. Do it. If you want to use Fimex, great. Again, Fimex.trade, check it out. But if I were you, I would try another derivatives platform as far as futures trading outside of Binance. I just worry for people who use it. I don't trust them. And in the end, there's just too much stuff going on. So that's just kind of my opinion. I think that you should take the time to check out other platforms that aren't going to take advantage of you. They don't have to do snake oil stuff like the Binance options in order to get money off people. I just think it's greedy on Binance. I think they have enough money and enough products that they just need to focus on the ones and making them better instead of just trying to diversify so much. Just kind of like the IEOs that got a lot of people wrecked. Those initial exchange offerings where just they made so much money off selling the coin and dumping it on people. So that's all I'll say about that, right? And with that said, again, to wrap it up, Fimex.trade, the levels we're going to look at after if it breaks below here, 6,400, 2,400, 6,200, excuse me, and then eventually 5,800. If price isn't able to break above that area around 6,900, as we've talked about earlier, right, then in the end, if it can't break above there, then especially on the daily chart, I'll pull it down here, around this area, then yeah, I'm bearish overall. And so really we're just balancing in between 6,900 and 6,600. It would be great for a candle to close below 6,600 or above 6,900. I'd love to see that. So until then, we're in ranging. So make sure to, if you are trading this, to trade effectively, put your stop losses in. And again, low leverage is always wise. So these are the areas that we're watching here. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Kenner and Clark and Josh_Rager on Twitter, support at blockroots.com. And we'd love to hear from you in the comments below. And with that said, we'll look out for the weekly close. So watch out for that and make sure that you guys continue to be healthy, take care of yourself and your families, and trade effectively. And we'll talk to you guys.